Hello and welcome to the Startup Show, brought to you by Inc Authority. I'm your host, Trevor Rowley. Inc Authority is a one-stop shop for small business owners around the country to utilize business formation services and a suite of other services to help them launch, grow, and scale their businesses. One of the things that's always on business owners' minds is how can they get sources of other revenue to help them build their business? Business credit is absolutely essential in that regard. How can we get other people's money and leverage it to help us build our businesses? That's the topic for today. And to help us get through the ins and outs of this topic, please welcome our special guest, Brian Tarleton. Brian is a senior business advisor at Inc Authority. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Trevor.
So as a senior business advisor, what is it that you do with business owners around the country? How do you interact with them and how do you help them?
Yeah, so my role within the organization is I help entrepreneurs navigate the ins and outs of basically everyday hurdles that they deal with, unfortunately, as brand new entrepreneurs, not knowing what they just simply don't know. And as soon as they incorporate their business, step one is start building business credit. Just like an 18-year-old, you got to start building your own personal credit, so we help them build their business credit.
Yeah, you know, there's nobody braver than a new business owner, somebody who has that ambition, that hope, that dream, that drive to have their own financial freedom, be their own boss, hang their own shingle. But there's usually a lot of worries and a lot of concern and even some fear that goes into that process. On top of that, statistics tell us that 2 out of 3 new businesses are going to fail within the first 5 years. And the reasons that they fail are, number one, they usually don't know what they don't know, right? I mean, there's some knowledge that they don't have. And then the second thing is they usually don't have enough capital to help build their business, which is another reason why building business credit is so important. What exactly is business credit, Brian?
Yeah, you're right. Undercapitalization is the main reason why businesses fail. And so when you build business credit, what you're doing is you're giving yourself that opportunity to completely financially separate yourself from the business. And so when you build business credit, you have your own FICO score. That's your personal credit. And so with your business, you actually build what's called a PAYDEX score for your LLC. So we reach out to Dun & Bradstreet, the Business Credit Bureau, and we build out an entire financial profile of your business, and we allow the business to become completely financially self-sustainable. And we allow the business to actually grow its own credit, get trade lines with other vendors that the business now grows a financial relationship with, basically, to now actually start navigating a full financial growth with, to where it can actually start leveraging those trade lines to now start growing credit and building out that PAYDEX score to where it eventually can start actually leveraging that for more financial freedom, growth, and lending potential.
You know, I find that fascinating that there's a process like that where someone can achieve that separation financially. You know, in a recent program, we were talking about the benefits of incorporating a business and the benefits of separating your personal assets and liabilities from your business assets and liabilities. And it sounds like what you're telling me is that same principle or pattern applies in someone's finances. You know, tell me what the difference is between personal credit and business credit, because there are some significant ones, aren't there?
Very serious and significant differences, actually. Our FICO scores are scored anywhere, 300 up to 850, but our business's PAYDEX score, it's actually scored from 0 to 100. And, that kind of sweet spot, around 80 with an A+ rating. And at that point, you've got that full financial freedom. And, even your vendors, other companies that you're looking to conduct business with, they actually rate your business and the severity of you as an entrepreneur. And them wanting to even conduct business with you is based solely off that PAYDEX score, the rating. But then other businesses, banks and lenders wanting to lend business funding to you based off of that.
Yeah, like you, I've been in the business formation space, in business services space for many, many years. And I remember talking to a gentleman who had been in business for a long, long time. And we were talking about building business credit for his business. He says, I don't need to build business credit for my business. I've been in business for a long time, and I'm sure I have the business credit score because people have lent him money and he's paid it back on time. But when we went to look him up, in the credit bureaus, there was nothing to be found. And his question was, how could that possibly be? And so where did he go wrong and what should he have done differently?
Yep. I have these conversations, unfortunately, daily with people that just unfortunately they leverage themselves personally all the time. They go open up their business bank account and the banks provide them credit cards not knowing that I'm the financial guarantor of that credit card. And that's really where that first step of making that first mistake is, again, leveraging your personal credit. And so the first thing we want to do is, again, reaching out to Dun & Bradstreet as soon as that incorporation process, again, whether you're an LLC or a corporation, we pull the DUNS number, we get it activated, we completely start that financial separation in play. So that way everyone's now only looking at the business. They're not looking at you, because we want to make sure everything with the business is staying with the business and not you, because your FICO's for you, your family, your future. Go have fun with that. Keep the business with the business.
Yeah. And it's so incredibly important, because I've spoken to other business owners who said, hey, I can fund my business entirely because I have good personal credit and I don't really need to go through this process of building business credit. They didn't understand yet the benefits of it. Yet the problem is that if you use your good personal credit, you're likely to run into problems where you start to utilize more of your available balances for your business. And when you do that, your personal credit score actually goes down. And then over time, your personal credit score goes down far enough that you can't get additional lines of credit. And so rather than going through the process of building business credit, they utilized their personal credit and didn't ruin their personal credit, but certainly harmed their personal credit to the point that they didn't have enough credit available to them for the business. A better answer, if I'm hearing you correctly, is, hey, let's go through the process of separating your personal credit from your business credit. Let's build business credit separate and apart from your personal credit, have your own paydex score for your business, and rely upon that to build the business. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So there's a process to it, right? I mean, people think and say that they can do it on their own, which they could if they have many years to go through the process and the patience to make mistakes, right?
Very much.
Or you can use a company like Inc. Authority that has a proprietary program that's time tested to help one build their business credit score quickly, right? So if someone comes to you, Brian, as a senior business advisor at Inc. Authority and says, hey, help me build business credit, and you say, hey, we've got this wonderful program that's established, what's the first thing that would happen if they took advantage of that service with you?
Yeah. So it's a very true and fair statement that you can do it on your own. But unfortunately, you'll most likely trip, stumble, maybe even fall down, because it's a very lengthy, time-consuming process, a lot of research. But with us, we make it as simple as possible, much like our formation process. With us, we get it done in roughly 60 to 90 days. 80 paydex score, A+ business credit. We get you access to many lines of trade lines, your vendors. And through our process, it's roughly complete in 60 to 90 days, where on average, when you do it on your own, it's going to take you roughly 12 to 18 months. And so our very first process is we immediately reach out to Dun & Bradstreet, start building out that entire financial profile of your business. So that way we try to make you, as the individual, your entrepreneur, the business owner, completely financially irrelevant to the business and allow the business to financially stand on its own 2 feet. And then at that point, we've got your DUNS number. And then from there, we start applying for those trade lines to start building the paydex score and allowing that business credit to actually start growing to eventually it gets to the point where you can leverage it for the lending that you need to actually start funding your startup. And again, it's only done in 60 to 90 days versus the lengthier time of 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, that's awesome. So they take advantage of your biz credit building program, and there's a couple of elements of that I think are incredible and very, very valuable. One is that you have a proprietary platform online, a credit launch pad that helps walk the business owner through the process so that they can track where they are, track which vendors they're utilizing, and when those vendors are reporting positive payment experiences to the credit bureaus. They can track their compliance process to make sure that all the prerequisites are met before they apply for credit so that they're not declined. That's a big piece of it because that's the platform that's utilized. But I think the bigger piece is the one-on-one coaching that comes with it. They're all, every customer receives a personal business credit coach who holds their hand through the process. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Tell me what the business credit coach does. You talked about, well, doing it yourself versus we can do it for them. What is the we when we're doing it, and the coach, what role does the coach play?
Yeah, so you're right. It's a two-pronged approach that we have. Not only do you have a dedicated credit coach that holds your hand and literally walks you through the process, telling you what to do, when to do it, where to do it, how to do it, who to do it through, but we also have our credit launch pad that also gives you that access to work on it at your leisure. And with our credit coaches, they're there to give you that verbal assistance, the extra hand holding when you need that extra guidance, to show you through the entire compliance process. But also when you have the downtime, if you're someone like myself that's got 4 kids at home and you're running 900 miles an hour, if you've had the 1 hour compliance conversation and you're like, all right, cool, I've got a really good grasp on it. Once I've gotten the 4 kids to bed, I'm going to spend an hour or 2 at 10 o'clock at night. I'm going to log into my Launchpad and I'm going to spend some time working on building out my portfolio and maybe spend some time applying for a couple of trade lines. You've got that opportunity. You don't have to just worry about working on it from 8 to 5. And that's the beautiful thing about our process is, again, you've got a credit coach, but as well you've got our software that's helping you through every single piece of not just the compliance, but the application processes, the tracking of every single trade line as you utilize them, as you apply, as it reports that positive payment history, and as you move on through each and every tier.
Yeah, so it's a real complete program, and the coaching is so essential that they can have coaching appointments to walk them through the process, because I think a big piece of this is understanding that business credit doesn't get built automatically. I think, a lot of people are used to the fact that on the personal credit side, I don't really have to actively do anything. I mean, I make purchases, I pay my bills, et cetera, and everything is automatically reporting back to my Social Security number, and I'm having a personal credit score, a FICO score, as you said, that's automatically being built. But the business side is different. It doesn't happen automatically. I have to do something proactively. And even when I'm being proactive, I need to be doing business with a vendor or a lender who's going to report the positive payment experiences back to the credit bureaus so that a profile is established and a score is established. It doesn't happen automatically. Even if people lend me money or I have trade lines open that I utilize and pay my bills on time, if the person I'm doing business with doesn't report, then it does nothing for me in terms of building a business credit score. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's very correct.
So it's a complete process, right? And I'm also fascinated by this compliance process that you mentioned. Early on, the coach takes your customer who has just subscribed to this business credit building program and puts them through a compliance check, right? And as I understand it, this compliance check is to make sure that they qualify for the credit market before they start applying for these trade lines of credit, because there's nothing worse than applying for a trade line and being declined. And sometimes you can be declined if you simply aren't meeting some of the not too difficult prerequisites.
Right.
What are some of those prerequisites?
Yeah, I mean, some of the very simple things is just making sure your principal business address is registered within your domestic state, having a business phone number that has just your local area code, having an active domain name, just some very simple, basic business fundamentals that a lot of people just simply don't know about. Yeah. And so with us, we literally, again, hold your hand and make sure, hey, this one little piece that you missed, because you missed that one piece, trying to do this on your own, you're going to be missing out on a lot. So thankfully we're here to just make sure you didn't miss that. Come on, let's get you on to the next step.
And I'm sure you've heard horror stories. I've heard some horror stories from business owners who registered their corporation or their LLC, and immediately they get placed on mailing lists, right? And some of those mailing lists mean you're receiving offers for credit cards, and they get that in the mail and they're like, this is great. I can get a company credit card. They don't read the fine print and see that it's, although the business name might be on the card, if they qualify for the card, it really is on their personal credit and it's reporting their personal credit. And if they get declined, which they often do, it puts them in a bad position to get credit built in the future for the company.
Right.
And so what's the best way to avoid that kind of a process of putting yourself in, so far behind the 8 ball, so to speak, that you can't really get in front of it?
Just making sure you've got professionals helping you. I mean, in all fairness, because again, what you just don't know is what's going to get you in trouble, and that's the best thing that I can recommend is what you don't know, asking the questions by professionals to make sure you don't put yourself between a rock and a hard spot.
Great. And that's what the coach does, and that's what the tracking software does. And so the customer goes through this compliance check, make sure they're qualified and meet the criteria for the lending market. And then you introduce them to vendors who are willing to extend to them trade lines of credit, and they start utilizing their services, right? And a lot of these vendors provide services that most startups need anyways, right?
Absolutely.
And what do they do with these vendors, and how long do they work with them?
So they're going to utilize these services with these vendors anywho. You know, whether you would have been utilizing them with the trade line that we're putting in front of you or not. You know, if you were not building business credit, and let's say for instance you chose Staples as one of your trade lines, and you're an office, a brick and mortar office, right? And you're going to buy office supplies anywho, and you're not building business credit. Well, guess what? You're going in there weekly buying those supplies. Well, now we've set you up with those trade lines that you can report all that positive payment history back to Dun & Bradstreet, and you're building your business credit, and you're actually helping the business in a much more positive fashion rather than just utilizing your debit card or just a personal guaranteed credit card.
And that's super important, right? Because to build credit, whether it's personal or business, you're going to have to make purchases on credit and then pay the bills on time. If you can't do that, you're never going to build credit, right?
Exactly.
And so that principle applies here in building business credit. But I think one of the neat things that Inc. Authority does is Inc. Authority vets all the vendors to make sure that they are the ones who are willing to extend these trade lines of credit to our customers if they meet these requirements, and then that they will report the positive payment activity on a monthly basis back to the credit bureaus, which is what allows you to build a business credit score quickly and to get that A+ business credit as fast as you possibly can.
Correct.
And so to those who say, well, I could do this on my own, they could, but they're going to have to call and vet out these customers or these vendors to find out, you know, will they extend trade lines of credit? What are the terms? Do they report? They'll all report negative payment activity, but they won't all necessarily report positive payment activity, and even fewer will report it every month. So Inc. Authority does all that work for them.
Right. Not to mention we already know as well which tiers each one of those trade lines fall into, and we already have all the information lined out, so that's why we're able to expedite it and get it done that much faster to help make sure the business becomes that much more successful, to get you financially separated that much quicker.
So a business owner comes to you, they subscribe to the business credit program, they go through it, they're coached, they use the software, and ultimately they receive their 80+ Paydex score, which equals A+ business credit. What does that put them in a position to do? Why is that important?
Well, at that point, once you've achieved the opportunity to be completely financially separated from your business, at that point, you're able to actually go out and receive additional funding for your business. And that's the most important part, is stop leveraging yourself and leverage the business and keep any and all debt of the business on the business and keeping it away from you. And that's unfortunately, as we were talking about earlier, where a lot of our students do fail, is they're leveraging themselves as the financial guarantor of their business. So once we've achieved that 80 Paydex score, that A+ business credit, now you can actually leverage the business to its fullest extent. You've got yourself legally protected because of the business formation. Now you've got your 80 Paydex score, you're leveraging the business as well for all of your funding needs.
That's amazing. And so it makes the business bankable, right?
100%.
Now, if they don't go through that process, you may never become bankable, or you may always rely on one's personal credit. But if you go through this process and build this A+ business credit, that puts you in a position to become bankable, and doors open up to you. Not to mention the fact that you can get better interest rates and insurance rates and all those things that are associated with having great credit scores.
Absolutely.
Brian, can you give me any examples of some customers and some success that they may have had by utilizing the business credit program?
Yeah, daily we talk to clients, especially myself, that have tried this on their own. I was actually just talking to a student just today, actually, who, just 3 months ago, 4 months ago, I put through the program and just received his 80 Paydex score, A+ rating. And he prior, on one of his old businesses, had tried to build his own business credit, and it took him 2.5 years, and he was beating his head against a wall and was still continuously being the financial guarantor, and decided to finally just, put his faith in us and allow us on his newest business that we incorporated for him to allow us the opportunity to help him, because he realized how hard it was on his last business. And we put him through our program, got him completely financially separated, and he was actually able to leverage that business to actually go get his funding costs completely covered for his startup, and he's actually on the road today.
That's awesome. I hear it time and time again that the most successful business owners are those that build a team around them who can handle the business of business so that they can focus on making their business succeed, right? The focus on the business itself rather than, the building credit part. They want coaches and others to help them with that, and there's other pieces as well, but building that team is key to building a successful business. And so I see this as a foundational piece for any new business owner. Is that how you see it?
Absolutely.
Great. Well, appreciate you coming and joining us here on the program today. Appreciate all the work you do with small business owners around the country. Small business is what drives, the heartbeat of this country. It's providing opportunity for people every day. And, this program gives us an opportunity to share information and knowledge with small business owners, and we thank you for leading out in that area.
Well, I appreciate you having me on and giving me the opportunity to talk about such an important topic.
And thank you for joining us all today on this program. We appreciate you listening in. Again, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any future content that we bring you. It's been our pleasure to bring you the Startup Show, brought to you again by Inc. Authority. I'm your host, Trevor Rowley. We'll see you next time.